So I've been reading posts for a few days now looking for solutions to my own situation. I don't know if this is the right sub or not. I'm new to read it and I'm trying to find advice from people who are or have been in the same situation as me. First of all, I would like to apologize in advance for my vocabulary, my expressions. I am French and English is therefore not my native language. It has now been about 2 weeks since I discovered that my fiancée Marie cheated on me with her ex because according to her, she felt insecure because of my ex, Samir. It's the dumbest excuse I've heard in my life, but the worst thing is that everyone agrees with her and pressures me to forgive her. I want to hear the opinion of people who are not concerned. I will try to give a little background. It may be long. Samir and I is a long story. We met when we were both 3 years old. Her mother was a nanny at home and looked after several children, including me. We were so inseparable that our mothers became friends and decided to put us in the same school. So I practically spent my entire childhood until I was 13. With Samir, we were called the Siamese back then. We used to argue a lot, but we were always united with the other children, which meant that we were ostracized. But we didn't care as long as we had each other. When we were 11, our family started to think it wasn't healthy and that we needed to make other friends. It was while trying to separate us that we realized that we were deeply in love with each other. But our families were very conservative. She is of Arab origin, and I am of African origin. So we hid the fact of dating. Then one night when I was 13, I made the mistake of going up to her room, which was on the first floor through her window. It was dangerous but exciting. I had done that a few times before. We were just chatting at the time and kissing sometimes. Nothing else. But that day, her father opened her door without warning. He caught us kissing and tried to call the police. I tried to escape through the window. I fell. I broke my arm. All the neighbors were out and it went scandal. The whole neighborhood talked about it. Her father never liked me. He wanted to file a complaint against me. Even if I was not risking much at that age, it was still very humiliating for my family. My father, therefore, decided to send me to Africa to stay there for an indefinite period. But it was mainly to separate us. I tried to adapt to my new life. She also tried to adapt to her new life. But in the end, we had managed to keep in contact. We spoke via the internet, and when I came back to France after high school, it was as if we had never left each other. We continued to date in secret, and at 24 it was clear that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. We were naive to think it was going to be that simple. We decided to tell our families, saying that we intended to get married, but for them it was as if we had announced the apocalypse. Our respective families wanted everyone to get married in its culture. It caused a lot of tension in the neighborhood. Already, when we were little, we had made a lot of noises and everyone always talked about us and gave their opinion on our lives. It was very painful. We tried to hold on for a year. She wanted us to go and finish our studies in another city very far from Paris and her families. But my father was sick at the time. I decided to stay. And when my father died, I didn't no longer have the strength to fight. I decided to break up and she decided to go to another city. We had completely lost contact. I was tired of living in the neighborhood where people always talked about us. I chose to move to the student residence of our university. It was a terrible year. I came back to see my family on the weekends, and one day at a wedding, I met Marie. She had just moved to a neighborhood with her family. We were at the same table. We had spent the evening making jokes. We told each other about our lives. I told her about Samir, and she told me about her ex. She told me that she had left her ex after 2 years of relationship because she did not want to sleep before marriage. But her ex could not hold on anymore. She told him to marry her then, but he was not ready. So she decided to end the relationship. We were two souls in pain. We had become friends over time. We went out together but realized that she was getting more and more irritated when I told her about Samir. So I stopped. One day she told me that she had feelings for me. I told her that I still had some in my heart. She told me that it was an opportunity for her. I agreed to date her. It was weird at first to be with another woman, but eventually I got used to it and started to like her. As time passed, she became more and more jealous of Samir. But I never spoke about her again. After she confessed, it was weird she acted that way. I lived on campus, so I didn't know what was said in the neighborhood where I came from. But apparently people were talking about my old stories, with Samir telling anecdotes here and there. The time I broke my arm, trying to escape to the window. Another anecdote reassured Marie by saying that was the past, but she always compared herself to Samir. It's true that Samir was very beautiful, but that was beyond my control. She blamed me for having dated such a beautiful woman, yet she never saw her. Maybe in a photo. I don't know. I always told her that she was the most beautiful in my eyes because she was the one who counted now. But you always had to compare yourself to Samir. If we did activities together. She asked me if I had already done it with Samir. What she couldn't stand was that I was intimate with Samir. In short, it was becoming unbearable. Despite everything, I asked her to marry me. She was from the same culture as me, so it suited my family. I did not have the strength to fight again for this kind of thing. The wedding was to take place in August. A perfect timing for me, because I will have finished my studies in July. Other than her insecurity, everything seemed fine until 2 weeks ago when I got a call from a number I didn't know from a guy who introduced himself as her ex. He told me that he and Marie were still seeing each other and that they had slept together several times. I didn't believe him. I thought his ex was trying to sabotage our relationship, but he sent me the screenshots of their discussion. I told him that these things could be easily fabricated. He then asked me to meet. I wanted to warn Marie, but I told myself that I would go first. I had 2 kinds of my friends accompany me in case he tried to trick me. Then he showed me his phone, the Marie's number, their discussions, etc. Everything was there. They saw each other for 2 months and Marie decided to put an end to their affair. A week before he contacted me, I called Marie directly. I told her that we needed to talk at the time. Oddly, I felt no anger, no positive or negative feelings. I was like a spectator watching his life in a film. A friend of mine had the good idea to ask me to record a confrontation. That's what I did. When I told her what I knew, she was shocked. She told me that it wasn't true, that the guy was trying to destroy our relationship. So I showed her the screenshots. She said the same thing I said to the guy, that it was something that could be easily made. I told her I went to see the guy and he showed me his phone. The discussion of the details about our life that he couldn't know. There she broke down and started crying and asking me for forgiveness. I was at her house in her room. Her family came to see what was happening. I explained the situation to them. They didn't believe me. I didn't try to convince them. I left. They contacted my family before I arrived at my family's house. I explained to my mother what had happened. Apparently, Marie explained to them that it was because I was seeing somebody in secret that she did it. Apparently, Samir was back in town when I didn't even know it. Now everyone says it's because of her. Marie put herself as the victim and Samir and me as a villain. I was so angry that I decided to cut off contact with everyone. It's been 10 days since I've spoken to anyone in the neighborhood. I've stayed with a friend from school, so no one knows where I am. I put my phone off and only contact my mother on email. I also receive a ton of email from Marie, but I deleted each of them without reading them. That's pretty much the story. I don't even know what I'm going to do next. Everyone asks me to forgive her, but there is no possibility for me to do so. I only feel disgust for her, but I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to handle the situation. It is complicated. Any advice? Update. Hello, folks. Well, it's been a while since my 23 mail first post. I've been receiving a lot of support in my DMs and I can't thank you all enough. People ask me for an update, so here we go. I put a link above to my first post for those who want to see some context. D-Day was very close to my finals, so it's like I was numb and feel like I was in autopilot all along my exams. There was nothing else that mattered in that period. And honestly, focusing on myself was all I needed, and now I'm officially an engineer. I remained in no contact, whether Mary ex-fiancé, a 22 female, her family, my family, or anyone who minded my business. But in the evening after my exams, when I finally get back to my apartment, everything came back like a big wave that fell on me. I was tired and felt abandoned by everyone. I was very anxious about the messages I was going to receive when I turned on my phone. So I didn't. I just wanted to sleep. I read that most people have mind movies of their significant other with their fair partner. I get those images, but oddly, it was me with Marie. I pictured a lot of times we cuddled, making out, etc. And I felt dirty. I kept scratching myself, then going to take a shower to clean myself from the feeling of getting dirty. I did that twice, and that evening I had trouble falling asleep in my bed. I scratched again because it reminded me of all those times. Mary and I were sleeping in the bed. So I lay down on the floor. The next day, every time the images were too much to handle, I'd started scratching again and went showering to feel clean. I did that 8 times. Right now I'm doing it like 3 or 4 times a day. I'm afraid of what damaged my skin. Has this ever happened to any of you? I hope it's not a compulsive mental illness. So the next day I turned on my phone. The messages kept coming. There, like over 200 text messages and many voicemails. I didn't read any of them. I deleted everything. I didn't have the strength to go through the same crap. Or people told me the same things again and again. I decided to go to my family's house. I couldn't keep hiding any longer. I already knew I was going to find people there. Like every Saturday. I have never been so stressed in my life. When I get home, I found there my uncle, my father's brother and self-proclaimed head of the family after my father passed away. His wife, whom I will call witch because, well, she's a witch. Their children. A few family friends. As well as my siblings. 13 male, 9 male and 5 female. For some reason, my mother wasn't there. As soon as I got there, my uncle started yelling at me and I didn't even acknowledge him. Just seeing my little sister running to me for a hug was a blessing. God, I love this little girl. All my siblings see me as a role model. I felt guilty for not talking to them all this time. Usually when I'm there on the weekends, I help with their homework. I do put the youngest to bed and told them some stories that my father used to tell me. And when I'm in my own apartment, we manage to talk every night to see how their day was. We're very close to each other, but my uncle won't stop yelling at me, so I get pissed off. I was sitting in front of everyone like I was getting an audition from a jury which asked me if I found back my sanity. Apparently, Maria changed her version. She said she didn't sleep with her partner. They just kissed. She said I put so much pressure on her that she confessed something that she didn't do. But I know what I saw. End of their partner's phone. This girl called Marie. I really don't know who she is anymore. She turned out to be such a manipulative person. How can someone hide such a vicious nature for so long?